thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your True Self, and I haven't done a wrap up for absolutely ages, so the aim of the game today is to do a wrap up. I haven't done a wrap up since May, so I've got quite a lot of books to wrap up, so I'm going to divide this into like part 1 and part 2 so that I don't go on for like an hour or something ridiculous. So I've had some really good reads over the last couple of months. I have barely hauled anything. I think actually the only thing I've hauled in the last 2 months is Yellowface, which I had reserved, pre-ordered, that's the word. So I actually haven't really bought anything for 2 months. So my TBR is going down. So let me start with the first. I'm just going to do them in the order I read them, like normal. So the first book that I read was a non-fiction, which was A World Without Smells by Lars Lundqvist. This is a book that a patient bought for me probably a couple of years ago now, and this is about anosmia, which means the inability to smell. Lars was born without a sense of smell, so he's never been able to smell, and this covers things like how smell helps us with things like knowing if food is off, knowing if we need to shower, knowing if our clothes are clean, or smelling fire, burning. So lots of things are covered. It also talks about how it can be difficult to diagnose sometimes because people kind of assume other people can smell without necessarily knowing. It talks about how things taste different, and it was interesting. The only thing I would say, there were some things where I thought it didn't quite make sense. Like he was saying how every day his wife has to prompt him to make sure he has a shower because he can't smell if he smells bad, and I was like, well, just have a shower anyway. Like, I don't know about most people watching, but I have a shower every day. I don't wait till I smell and then have a shower. I just have a shower every day. So there were some things like that which I was a bit like, I'm not sure that. I think that's just called good hygiene. But otherwise, it was an interesting read, and it was interesting to read about anosmia. The second book that I read was my joint favourite book of the year so far. I have mentioned this in the mid-year recap tag, but it was A Place for Us by Fatima, Farheen, Mirza. And this is a book that I heard about a few years ago from Jen Campbell, who absolutely loved this book as well. And I can't tell you how incredible it is. Several people put in the comments when I mentioned it before that they were going to get it from the library or order it, and I really hope this encourages more people to read it because it was so good. I believe it is Sarah Jessica Parker's imprint who published this book, and it's basically about a Muslim family. We have the parents, and then we have 3 children. We have Hadia, Huda and Amal, and 2 girls and a boy, and the boy is the youngest, Amal. The parents have moved to America from India before they had children. So the children have been born in the States. The parents are quite strict in their upbringing of their children, and they don't really want them to have friends outside of the Muslim community because they sort of worry about them being led astray and doing things which aren't really their values as a family. And we start from when the children are grown up, and it's Hadia's wedding day, and we know that Amal is coming to the wedding, and the family haven't seen him for a really long time. We know that there's been some kind of falling out in their family, but we don't know like what happened. And then we go back in time to right at the beginning before the children were even born, and we sort of learn the story piece by piece of what happens. And the author is really quite young, and she has done one of the best jobs that I've ever seen of writing a family relationship. So if you like books about the intricacies of family relationships, this is definitely one for you. The father-son relationship especially is absolutely incredible. The father-daughter too, but I'd say the father-son especially is amazing. And I find sometimes when I finish reading a book that within a short time I've forgotten the characters' names. Not in this book. This is one of the ones where the characters just stick with you. You still think about them after you finish. You think about them in between. I read the end so slowly because I didn't want to finish it The end was one of the most emotional bits of reading I've done for a really long time. I listened to this on audio, and they had Indian narrators, which was really nice as well, because the accents were all there, and that really brings a story to life, I think, when characters have the accent that they're supposed to have in the story. And I just can't recommend this book enough. I absolutely adored it, and please read it. So that was my second book of the month. And then following that, I had my other joint favourite of the year so far. So like, what a good couple of reads this was. So the third one that I read this month was Bridge of Clay by Markus Zusak. This is another book which I absolutely adored, and I was reading this while I was listening to A Place for Us, so really it was just the best reading time I could imagine. So this is the follow-up to The Book Thief. It's nothing to do with The Book Thief, it's just the next book that he wrote. This is a book set in Australia, and we're following 5 brothers called the Dunbar Boys. And when the book starts, they're living a very kind of wild lifestyle. They don't have any parents. The oldest is about 21, 20, and the youngest is about 9 or 10. And they're living in a city in Australia, but they have quite a lot of land, and they have animals, and the animals all come in and out of the house. They don't really have rules or boundaries. They're just sort of making it up as they go along. Their neighbours look out for them. They're always getting into scraps. They're always scrapping with each other. And Clay is the brother. So the eldest brother is like sort of like the omnipresent narrator of the book. And Clay is one of the brothers. He's the main focus of the story. But we do hear about all the brothers. But Clay is the one who we're following most closely. And we find out that their mum died of cancer. It is very triggering. So if you have, if for any reason you can't read about death of a parent or death from cancer, then don't read this book, because it's quite graphic about those things. It's about like a mum being separated from her children by her death, which was like, it gets you right here, really does. The dad, after mum's died, the dad can't hack it and he leaves, which is why the boys don't have anybody apart from each other at the beginning of the book. And one day the dad just turns up and he says that he lives in a place where he can't get across from his house into the town because there's like a river in the way, and he wants to try and build a bridge that goes across the river, and will any of the boys help him? And Clay's the one who will help him. The hence Bridge of Clay is the title. So it's about a coming of age story for Clay. It's about his relationship with a young girl who he's falling in love with. He's the same age. When I say young girl, I mean someone who's his contemporary, not someone who's a lot younger than him. So it's like kind of their coming of age story, their first taste of love, the love of parents and children, the sort of the grief and devastation, and also what it's like to have so many brothers and the brother relationships. This is kind of has quite a lot of similar themes to A Place for Us, in that it's about family relationships, family love, and kind of growing up. And I think this has got a more unusual writing style. There's a bit of jumping around in time, but I love the Dunbar boys. I love the relationship with their mum, and above all, I love Clay. And this book was incredible. So none of the next ones are going to match up to those guys, but the next book was one which is a controversial one, because it was our book club read, and it was The Salt Path by Raynor Winn. Before I had actually unhauled this book because I saw Mercedes and Charlotte from Bookish Mama Blooms absolutely tear this book to shreds when they read it. They hated it. I can still remember how much they hated it. So it sort of prejudiced me against this book. I'd unhauled it. I borrowed it on Libby, and Raynor Winn actually reads the book, which was fine, apart from she doesn't do any different voices for anyone. So she'll be talking to a group of Australian or American people, and they'll all have the same sort of Midlands accent that she has. Which is quite funny. So this book is basically non-fiction. Raynor and her husband make a really bad business decision to go and invest their money with a friend. They risk their house in doing so. The business all goes wrong. They lose their house and they become homeless. They're offered to be rehoused in a hostel, but they decide they don't want to do that. And her husband, Moth, has an illness. I think it's called CBD, corticobasal degeneration or something like that, which is basically like a chronic degenerative neurological illness which affects his mobility and his muscle strength, gives him a lot of pain. Despite this, they decide that they're going to wild camp across the coastal path through Devon and Cornwall, and basically it's like their story. It sounds like it's going to be amazing. There are bits where they're very naive, and there are bits like where they stay in campsites that they haven't paid for. They steal some stuff from shops sometimes, I think just once. They never do things that are sensible, like they forget to charge their phone, they forget to get water bottles filled up, they forget to bring sun hats even though it's the middle of summer. But so to start with, I found Raynor had like a real chip on her shoulder about everything. She couldn't bear to see anyone who was doing better than her in life, or there was a lot of, well, it's all right for you kind of sentiment at the beginning, and I kind of was getting a bit fed up with her, but it did get better. I did grow to like them more, but it wasn't ever going to blow my socks off, let's just put it that way. So I think I gave it 3 stars in the end. The next book that I read was one that has now gone back to the library, so I'll insert a picture, and it was This Family by Kate Sawyer. So this is set in the UK, and it's basically about, how do I explain it? A husband and a wife who are now divorced. It's the wife's wedding day to her new partner, and the ex-husband is also there because they're still really good friends. The ex-husband's mother lives with the wife, the new wife, and they have 3 children between them. And we know there's been some sort of massive falling out between the girls, and the girls keep promising that when the older sister arrives, they're not going to argue with her and they'll all get on for their mum's wedding day. And it's basically all set around the wedding day, but it does go back in time to when their first husband and wife meet each other. And it follows, it's kind of about, like, again, family relationships, friendships, growing up, what it's like to have little kids, what it's like when your kids are grown up and they have kids. And also there's some really big things, really big deal things that happen in the family, and you don't see all of them coming. They are a bit shocking and a bit unbelievable perhaps, but I did really enjoy this book. I gave it 4 stars, I think. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars, but it's going to be one of those books where I kind of knew this at the time. I really enjoy it when I'm reading it, and then I can't remember too much about it. I can't remember like all the girls' names, I can't remember the parents' names, that kind of thing. So I think if you want a summary family drama, then I'd recommend it, but otherwise it's not something that is going to stick with me. Following this, I just wanted something nice and simple and easy, quick read, and I saw Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell at the library while I was there with the children, and I've had Lauren from Lauren and the Books and David talk about Pumpkinheads quite a lot. And yes, it's not Halloween and the book's set around Halloween, but it's really cute. It's about 2 people, a guy and a girl, who work at this pumpkin patch in America. It's the last day before, I think it's either before it closes. Yeah, I think it's before it closes. And they've both worked there like every Halloween for a really long time. And it's just kind of a story about the guy really likes this girl and he's never talked to her because he's too shy. And it's about to be the last day of the season, so he kind of needs to talk to her. And he's trying to find her, and it's kind of just like a cute sort of romance friendship story, with nice artwork and stuff, so I really liked that one. The penultimate book book is one that I've had on my TBR for a little while. This is Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. This is translated from the Japanese by Sam Bett and David Boyd. This is about basically a boy, I can't remember his name, but there's a boy who has like a squint, so one of his eyes turns either in or out, and he gets really bullied for this. And it's also about a girl called Kojima, and she also gets really bullied. There's lots about how she smells, how her clothes are always dirty, and so they both get relentlessly bullied. And then one day she writes him a note asking him to meet her because they both have this bullying in common, to try and find friendship together. And it's really hard because once they're friends, he can't stand up for her from the bullies and she can't stand up for him because they don't have enough courage, really. And this book is really hard read because the bullying is so extreme and it's very graphic and it's not uplifting at all. It's really, not that I thought a book about bullying would be, but it's not kind of like a story where there's redemption and a happy ending or anything. It's just relentlessly miserable and hard to read, and you kind of feel like, where are the adults in this story? Why is no one picking up what's going on? But it's just, the bullying is really graphic, and so I'm giving this one away because I don't really want it anymore because it was just such a hard read. And I gave that one 3.5 stars. The last one I really loved. So the last one that I read was a real feel-good audiobook, and this was called Call Me Maybe by Cara Bastone. She has 3 books on Audible which have kind of been adapted specially for audio, and it's acted rather than read, I would say. So there's 2 characters, and the guy is played by one actor, the girl is played by another actor, and they are there's sound effects as well. Like if their phone rings, you hear a phone ringing, you can hear them typing on their laptops, you can hear like traffic if they're driving or outside or whatever. So it's kind of more like a dramatization of the book rather than just a normal audiobook, and it was such a good feel-good book. So the girl is Vera and the guy is Cal. What happens is Vera is wanting to launch her own business. She has a business idea of having these delivery boxes which are for occasions to do with like either a date or an anniversary or a friendship date or treating yourself or whatever, and the customer will fill out a questionnaire to say like about them and what they're looking for, and then Vera makes up like a box specially for them and posts it out to them with everything they need in it. And she's trying to launch her website, it's not working properly, so she rings the customer service number, she gets through to Cal. They end up having this really long conversation and he's trying to fix her website. They get talking about loads of stuff, and then they end up having more calls and develop this kind of friendship / romance. And it's like the sweetest, most uplifting story. Like Cal is a really good guy, Vera's a really lovely person, and it's a very kind of wholesome type of romance. It's really sort of positive and good, talks about good relationships and stuff like that. It was really kind of what I needed to pick me up. It made me feel really happy when I was listening to it. Like I really looked forward to starting to listen again, and it really, like, if I was feeling stressed out or a bit fed up or whatever, it really kind of lifted my mood. So if you're looking for something that will make you feel happy and has got like joy and romance and stuff in it, then I would really recommend this. I also listened to one called Seatmate by her, which is exactly the same kind of adaptation. That's about 2 people meeting on a long bus journey. And then I don't know what the third one is, but I'd really like to listen to that as well because I really enjoyed Seatmate too. So that's everything that I read in June. I will be back fairly soon with everything I read in July. I haven't done a best books of the year. Like I've done a bullet journal spread of the best books of the year so far, but I'm kind of like, is it too late to post it now? Because it's nearly like 7 months into the year. Tell me, am I too late? Tell me what you think. If you still like to see my best books of the year so far, then let me know and I'll make a video. But you know 2 of them already, A Place for Us and Bridge of Clay are the top 2. So yeah, tell me what you've been reading and enjoying, and tell me if you've read any of those books and what you thought. I hope you have a lovely week, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!